Welcome! Enjoy yourselves! Welcome! Oh, it's you. Commit any good genocides lately?
Look, we have to move past all that if we're going to work together.
It's easier for you to move past it than it is the Lithos, or what's left of them.
Come now. There's no need for hostility. I came here to enjoy myself.
What, they don't have casinos as well?
Naturally. Swellians rather enjoy games. But I was here at Penguinopolis already for a meeting, so I thought I'd come here to play. I even have Lowerlander money.
Fine. You know, there's something I want to discuss with you, actually.
That's fine. But right now I need a drink.
And I need to go review an anime. I'll be back later. Hiya! Penguin Truth here, and it's time for more Otaku Evolution. Be sure to like, subscribe, and contribute to my Patreon. It's been a few years since I talked about tragedy porn. We really haven't covered one since Now and Then Here and There, have we? This video's subject, Casshern Sins, is arguably tragedy porn. And by that I mean transparently maudlin, and a cynical attempt to seem more mature than it actually is. But let's get a little background first. Neo-Human Casshern is a 1973 anime series created by classic anime studio Tatsunoko Productions that went on for 35 episodes. It was about an android who fought the evil forces of King Boss with the help of his robotic dog Friender and assistant Luna. In 1993, a 4-episode OVA version of this story called Casshern Robot Hunter was made. It was even dubbed by Harmony Gold in 1995. That flat-capped fellow covered it. Go watch the video. In 2004, there was even a pretty popular tokusatsu movie adaptation of Casshern that was shot entirely on a digital backlot. I've never seen it, but then I've never seen any Casshern adaptation besides the subject of this video. Maybe I'll watch it sometime. Yeah, you can kind of ignore all that. Casshern Sins ignores all of it, like all the previous versions ignore each other. Casshern Sins sees our protagonist, Casshern, a virtually immortal android, wander the barren landscape of the Earth, which has fallen into the ruin, a disaster which has killed human and robot alike. Casshern is targeted by droves of mechanical beings, driven by desperation to stop their dying, and convinced that devouring him will stop it. Casshern is the subject of revenge by many, since apparently he himself caused the ruin by killing a figure called Luna. But he has no memory of this or who he used to be. Eventually, Casshern is joined by the robotic dog Friender, and is constantly running into Ryuze, who wants revenge for her sister, Oji, an older robot who used to work for the villainous King Boss, and a little girl named Ringo.
Now, peace and love, peace and love.
No, not that Ringo. No, not this one either, though I'll be getting to her soon enough.
So what is the ruin? Is it happening to me? I don't get it! All I know is you're really pretty, mister. You're not all broken down and corroded like me. You're more like a human.
Yeah, that's the one. It's never quite clear whether she's a robot or a human. She's presented as though she's a robot child, but there are little hints that she's at least part human, or at least partially organic. Normally in tragedy porn, the little kid is there to be horribly traumatized. Ringo does cry a few times out of concern for Casshern or others, but she actually remains a ray of sunshine throughout most of the proceedings. And a dreary, mawkish show like Casshern Sins really needed it. I never found her annoying. Maybe her entire purpose was to keep the show from getting too over-the-top depressing. Another interesting character is Casshern's eternal rival, who was built with similar specs, Dio.
Dio!
No, not that Dio. This one. The guy wants to raise an army and conquer what's left of the world, end the ruin, and become the new Breaking Boss. But above all things, he yearns to fight and defeat Casshern in single combat. The rest of his ambitions seem largely coaxed out of him by Lita, an android created at the same time as Casshern and Dio, who wishes to remain eternally beautiful, and so is desperate to possess and control immortality. To that end, when rumors arise that Luna is somehow still alive, Lita is determined to find her. The Dio-Lita combo is an effective team and an obstacle for Casshern to overcome.
Please understand me. Dio, I've chosen you. Just you. And not Casshern. Okay?
The show does have an unfortunate flaw of falling into a tired formula. Usually Casshern meets some poor unfortunate soul, do robots have souls? That's trying their best to make a life in the midst of all the decay and destruction of the ruin. They're usually held up as some kind of inspiration because of their fortitude in the face of certain death. Then they inevitably die, or their dream dies, or both. The show loves to break people. Robot people. I'm not even sure there are actually humans in this show. It's never clear who's a human. But the show loves to break these individuals, usually to develop Casshern's grim outlook, or occasionally strengthen his resolve by showing there's still beauty. This formula is fine for a handful of episodes, sure, and some are really good in isolation, but the desperation and melodrama is cumulative and starts to weigh down everything. It becomes devastation for the sake of itself and not towards any end at some point. I kept thinking that if they had just cut down some of the shots of silent longing, they could have combined some of these entries. This show is 24 episodes and frankly didn't need to be. But for as much as I complain, there are some legitimately awesome moments.
How long will it take to find a way out? But she never lost her faith and made her way back home. Hold each other's hands as we walk along the way. No fears and tears to fall. We find a way back home.
The atmosphere of the show is punctuated by the music. Aside from the vocal pieces, there's the background music by Kaoru Wada. It's not altogether bad. There are some good tracks, but it's fairly unimaginative and safe. Some of the music sounds like it's lifted directly from Wada's Inuyasha score. Sky and A Path help break up the monotony, though I wish there had been a few more insert songs. I mean, it's a 24-episode show, which, again, it didn't need to be.
Careful, mister.
Now it's time to talk about the major theme of Casshern Sins. So there'll be spoilers. Skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. We good? Good. Now that the dinguses are out of the room, let's talk about how ugly and stupid they all are. Man, did you see that one guy? Oh, right, the show's theme. As you would expect from a post-apocalyptic setting, the main theme is the value of life. And, for that matter, death as well. Before the calamity of the ruin started eating away at all life, humans and robots had become immortal. Breaking Boss seized control of the world with his robot army, but people began to seek out Luna, who would grant them a normal lifespan, allowing them to die. However, after she was ordered assassinated by Breaking Boss, she was killed by Casshern and that somehow began the ruin, she became afraid of death. When she re-emerges, she begins to give robots immortality, but only to the ones that don't reek of death. For instance, she was willing to give Lita her blood so she could remain beautiful forever, but it warps her body. Apparently, Luna's gift of immortality can change, twist you.
There's no need to worry. Isn't eternal life just so beautiful?
Casshern explains that Luna's granting of immortality is unnatural. Realizing this, Liuze and Oji spend their final days living peacefully with Casshern and Ringo. In dying, they realize the beauty of a natural life. Casshern confronts Luna at the end, telling her he won't stop her from stopping the ruin from affecting robots, but that he'll return whenever death is forgotten to grant an end to them. Throughout the series, the ruin had been treated like a plague, causing robots to crumble, giving them a desperate fear of impending death. They felt that Luna could grant them salvation from this fate. And in a way, they were right. She could stop the ruin from spreading. But what wasn't right was allowing the robots to live forever without limit. Casshern becomes death itself to maintain the balance. This is really cool stuff. We just didn't need 24 episodes of samey tragedy to get there, especially with so little tension in the battles. You see, Casshern pretty much dashes all opponents against the ground pretty easily. And sure, he could conceivably die if attacked hard enough while recovering from his wounds, but he was virtually unstoppable throughout the series, and it made the fights a little dull after a while. I understand that the fights weren't really the point of Casshern Sins, they were window dressing for the drama, and it was necessary for Casshern to be so powerful so that he could become death at the end. But you could only watch him tear through robot after robot so many times before it starts to get a little boring. Casshern Sins is a decent show. It has plenty of palpable drama and some of the action is fine in small measure. The mystery behind Luna's death and some of the character motivations make for some genuinely compelling theatrics. The show looks pretty good on top of that and has a solid voice cast in both Japanese and English. I like Casshern Sins, but it really overdoes things. There's a sense of oppressive, unnecessary weight to it that makes it seem like it's just wallowing in its own misery a lot of the time. You could spend your time better than watching this. Well, that's enough about Casshern Sins. Next time on Otaku Evolution, I'll take a look at a movie. At least one movie. Until then, see ya!
I know nothing, not even myself. Yet my enemies call me Casshern.
So, what is it that you wish to speak about?
I have a job for Ravix. If he carries it out, the Penguin Union will rescind the warrant for his arrest.
And this has to do with me. How?
Come off it. You know where he is.
Let's say for argument's sake I do. What's the job?
I need him to take out the man in Moscow. It's about time his piece be removed from the board.
If you want it so badly, why not do it yourself?
Obviously, I can't be linked to such a thing. I'll even pay him extra to bring him here alive.
If he brings him here, won't people catch on?
By the time they do, he'll be on trial at The Hague for war crimes.
Perhaps you need to stay out of Russia's business.
Uzwelians are too isolationist. If we let this man do what he wants, he won't stop with Ukraine. We can't let anyone capitulate to his ambitions.
Well, I'll pass along the job if I see Ravix again. In the meantime, you should reconsider your priorities.